All right, what's going on, guys? So today I'm gonna go over plyometric progressions for mixed martial arts. Hit the like button if you like this video. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification so I can keep these videos going for you. This is something that I saw my boy Chris Barner do with his particular progressions for having the ability to jump higher. For me, you guys know I work with a lot of combat sport athletes, so I am giving you the rendition of what I use to help progress my athletes to get them more powerful using plyometrics and ballistic style training. So here we go. So phase one is gonna be off camp. And now this is gonna be somewhere around 20 to 16 weeks out. Obviously, this is a long way out. A lot of guys are fighting on short notice, and I'll show you how I go ahead and integrate that in when you get closer to a fight. But let's start off with the off camp, and that's gonna be, again, concurrent training throughout the year because we obviously don't know when they're gonna fight, usually most of the times, but they're also training year round. So what we're gonna be focusing on for these next 4 weeks of the phase one off camp is gonna be low level plyometrics. That's gonna be hops, skips, bounds or pogo jumps, things like that. That's very low amplitude, but we're working on tissue elasticity. We're working on the ability to redirect. And that's really gonna help us going further down the line when we start to increase that amplitude, right? So it's gonna be lower intensity and the volume is gonna be 3 days per week. Usually we do this all year round, right? We're gonna do some sort of hops. We're gonna do some sort of skips and pogo jumps when we do our dynamic warm-up. So this is omnipresent throughout the year, but again, this is something we want to start to increase when we start up camp or when we start off camp going further. Phase two is gonna be your off camp, but that's gonna be your pre-camp. So you're getting closer to your fight camp. Usually a fight camp is around 8 weeks. So you're looking right around 14 to 12 weeks out. This is when we start to integrate this. Now with the 4 weeks, we're gonna go force absorption. So now we're gonna be working on deceleration. So we're working on the ability to decelerate or slow ourselves down and stop ourselves after a huge force output. Landing mechanics are gonna be key, right? I always say it's not so much as important as how you jump, but how you land. So you need to learn how to land before you can adequately learn how to jump. Landing mechanics are gonna be key. We use those drop jumps, single and double leg movement. So a drop down off a box, off a bench, off of, any type of distance that is lower than 12 inches, right? We wanna go low and then we can work our way up to 30-inch drop downs, all right? The goal for us is to see how well they can stabilize their body when they land, right? We wanna make sure that you're landing efficiently, you're landing with your feet underneath your hips, and so that you're not too wide, you're not too narrow, and you're able to reproduce force after that going further once we get into camp. Isometrics, right? So we're gonna do static holds in the mini-max. So when you go into the weight room, this is going to complement that, right? So we're gonna do isometric or yielding isometrics in a mini-max position or the weakest position of that movement to allow for you to get stronger and have the overall body awareness so that when you're able to produce that force, you do it more efficiently with a stabilized body. This is gonna be somewhat lower intensity because again, it is isometric, but it also depends on the duration of the isometric hold, right? So you can go higher intensity depending on if you're gonna hold for 5, 10, 15 second isometrics, then obviously the intensity is higher. If you're gonna do some overcoming isometrics, and that's what we usually use for our contrast sets, getting into fight camp closer to the fight. But if you're looking at just standard yielding isometrics, it's very low intensity. All right, we're gonna do 3 times per week there, and we're going to increase the intensity of that each week getting into camp, okay? So you'll have a 3-week pendulum wave. We deload right before camp, and then you start off on what we're gonna talk about in a few minutes. Again, if you wanna learn more about this, go ahead and check out my mentorship program. Link is in the description. If you wanna go ahead and learn and work some of these inside of a program, Fight Ready's your program. Let's get into the next one. All right, guys, so moving on into camp, right? So we have phase 3 in camp stage 1. So this is around 8 weeks out. This is gonna be done for 4 weeks. So what you're gonna be focusing on is concentric action, okay? So what does that mean? That's a static overcome by dynamic. That's that non-counter movement jump. That's where you're gonna sit into a position, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, and then concentrically jump up using high force. So I like to use seated jumps and non-counter movement box jumps to elicit that response. Same thing with med ball throws, right? They're gonna be holding in a static position and then explode through. There's no counter movement, there's no stretch reflex. All right, so again, static overcome by dynamic, and the intensity is going to be moderate, okay? So you're looking to bring it up a little bit higher because now you're trying to create as much force as possible from a static position. Moving on, you're talking around 4 weeks out, 5 to 4 weeks out. This is in camp stage 2. This is gonna be for 2 weeks. Now you're gonna be working more of that reflexive strength, right? So that stretch shortening cycle, that's where you're gonna use that counter movement. So we're gonna do counter movement jumps. We're going to do more of those drop jumps. We're going to do things that are going to have a fast amortization phase, so a fast time from the ground back up, right? So you're looking to increase tendon stiffness and overall elasticity. We wanna make sure that we're working some change of direction drills, right? Especially getting in and out of the pocket. The goal is to make sure that you're elusive and able to have that, again, that elasticity or the reflexive qualities that you need inside the cage. And then again, like I said, we're gonna work on some depth jumps in that same fashion, and the intensity now has heightened up to the highest degree, okay? So when it comes down to volume, I say don't do anything more than 10 depth jumps per session, and you wanna get somewhere around 30 jumps in total for that session. So make sure that you allocate that towards your overall goal, all right? Now, phase 5, that's gonna be pre-fight, that's peaking. So you got 2 weeks to peak, and you're gonna go post-activation potentiation or contrast training. So we're looking to enhance or increase motor unit recruitment, and then utilize those motor units that you recruit and put that into a lighter movement to allow for explosive power to occur. Right, another thing that we're gonna be working in is somewhat of a triphasic approach. We do potentiation clusters or French contrast. That's where you'll take, for the potentiation clusters, that's where you'll take 80% for a 1 rep, then you'll go unweighted jump, then you'll do a max effort plyometric jump there to help with increasing the overall explosive power. And also you're gonna be doing that for 8 reps. This, however, is going to increase what we call power endurance. And that's what you wanna work on, because we wanna be able to repeat high intensities throughout the entire time of the fight. So now getting closer to the capacity side of training as opposed to the power side, where you were working that in phase 3, phase 4, now you go to phase 5, and now we have to work on the ability to repeat that over and over again. So again, the intensity is gonna be moderate to high. That's where you're really honing in on the specific details of the sport. Not so much simulation, but the exercises and especially the movements in that force vector need to have high correlation over towards their specific game, right? So if you're looking at someone who's trying to go for takedowns, then you might want to work through those planes of motion to allow them to increase that from an athletic standpoint going into the fight. All right, again, if you have more questions like this, hit the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe again, hit the notification. Let me know you like this by hitting that like button, and I'll see you again next time. Peace.